His journey towards extremism began here in Manchester, home to a cell of radicals recruiting for Al-Qaeda. He was a bright student from a stable family home, but MI5 believes he was turned into a man capable of dying for jihad, or holy war. And the most shocking aspect of this story, he went abroad to fight while on a control order designed to prevent him from leaving the UK. It was the night of the 3rd of January 2007, and 22-year-old Umar Arshid came to this Manchester mosque to pray. His parents were already worried about his radicalisation and had even gone to the police about their concerns. They dropped him off, but when they came back to pick him up 2 hours later, he'd disappeared. Their son was never seen again. The security service MI5 assesses that he was sent to Pakistan for terrorist purposes, put starkly, to kill British and coalition troops. It's extremely rare for families to talk openly about the radicalisation process, but tonight we have the full story. So this is your son?
That's right.
And how old is he here roughly?
It's about 23.
He's about 23. Mohammed Arshad has compiled a dossier of evidence about his missing son. His radicalisation has stunned his parents because the family has been so well integrated into British life.
My life is ripped apart. I cannot concentrate on my system, cannot concentrate on my business, cannot concentrate the same. My concentration is gone. I think about him in the evening, I think about him in the day, I think about him in the afternoon, and sometimes when I'm alone I cry about it.
Umar was a model student. He did well at school, winning a place at Manchester University to study pharmacy.
He was a very, healthy, active individual. And obviously we used to go to the mosque quite regularly with me and my father. We used to go there, read our prayers, come home. So we had a very good routine, kept in line with our morals.
The family business, a garage, was going from strength to strength. Other new businesses were planned. The only cloud on the horizon was when Umar uncharacteristically failed his second-year pharmacy exams. Dropping out for a year, he started working with his dad.
We have regular car traders obviously coming for MOTs and mechanical repairs. And he was approached by this gentleman who befriended him at the garage, who used to bring his cars in for MOTs. He seemed at the time to be a nice individual, he spoke very politely. He's practising, we assumed, in the right manner. And it's fine, he's another friend.
Umar was soon spending most of his time with his new friend. But by the summer of 2006, his family noticed him changing. His mother says her son began talking about religion and politics, strident, she says. He attended mysterious meetings about Islam, stayed out late. He was looking sick.
He seemed a lot weaker. He didn't seem well. He didn't seem himself. And this happened very suddenly. It wasn't a space of, a year or 2 years. It occurred within a month.
His mind was being changed because the way he was being ruled by these individuals or the gang. If they told him to sit down, he would sit down. If they told him to stand up, he would stand up.
Umar's older brother agreed to help with our research. We know the identity of the man Umar met at the garage, but we're prevented from naming him for legal reasons. We can say, though, he was driving a wedge between Umar and his family, a crucial step in the radicalisation process.
They've done this to my brother. We know how he used to be. They've used various methods in changing his ideology.
The once demure boy even told his mother she'd lost her faith, a clue to his views on Islam and jihad. It must have been extremely upsetting for your mother to hear her son basically saying to her, "You've got the wrong form of belief," that's pretty
Yeah, of course,
strange.
once the person's mind is changed, to see that your son's not your son, he's changed, these people have had this effect on him, and whatever they've done to him, whichever methods or forms used, caused this heartbreak. Your own son doesn't want anything to do with you.
The family believe Umar was being fed hard drugs to create dependency and to prise him away from home. He was spending more and more time at this address in central Manchester with the man he'd met at the garage who was renting it at that time. We know he is a convicted heroin user.
He was a person who I believe, when I spoke to the individuals around the area, and they said he's a person who obtained methadone, and so I believe he was a person who instigated the whole process.
But there's far more to Umar's radicalisation than hard drugs and the influence of one man. The family didn't know it at the time, but he had become friends with a group of committed extremists living on the other side of town. This is where they used to meet, a rented house in Cheetham Hill. Living here back then was a 25-year-old Pakistani student, Abdul Rahman, who was in the UK on a student visa. Also there was his old friend from Pakistan, Aslam Awan. Here they are in the Lake District in March 2006, training for jihad. God is great, they shout. They took these images themselves on a phone camera, and here they celebrate the leader of the Chechnyan Mujahideen. It looks amateurish, but one of these men was in the Afghanistan-Pakistan border area within the year, planning to kill British troops. By October 2006, it seems that Umar Arshad was also planning to join the jihad abroad.
I received a phone call from my father at the time, and he said, "Oh, your brother's gone." And I said, "What do you mean he's gone? Where's he gone?" And he said, "He just rang. He said, I'm not coming back." My initial fears are it could be extremism. This is a big thing that's going on, with radicalisation of children and so forth. So we went straight to the police. Go, look, we believe he's in the wrong hands. Please find a way of stopping him leaving the country. The following morning we were called by the CID. Then we had a visit from the special branch, after which MI5 were involved. Now during this whole process, we were outlining our fears in terms of what has happened to my brother.
After 4 days, they managed to contact Umar by phone and persuaded him to return. He'd been staying here with the Al-Qaeda supporters. Unknown to the family, the police had this group under surveillance as part of a wider terrorist investigation. The police and MI5 continue to monitor the extremists living at this house in Cheetham Hill and their contacts with Umar Arshad. By December, they had enough evidence to apply for a control order, banning him from meeting with the extremists and banning him from travelling abroad. This document was served on him on the 3rd of January 2007, and the police gave him 24 hours to give up his passport.
They went to the police station along with my father and my mother, and they put this control order advising him, he has to sign in every day, and basically can't leave the vicinity of the area. He is required to, by law, to sign in. So obviously at the time we were relatively relieved. After a couple of hours, they released my brother. He was now officially on a control order.
On that evening, he asked to go and pray at this mosque. His family dropped him off, but when they returned, he'd gone, never to be seen again. His father blames the police for failing to stop him.
I feel that I've been let down. I have gone to the police and I have told the police, and I did mention about my fears to the police, and I'm going back to the same subject again and again and again. I think I must have gone about 3 times, and the scenario is still the same, that I haven't had a positive response by the police, which I should have had as a British citizen.
In the early hours of the morning after he'd disappeared, Umar Arshad was driven south to Birmingham. He bought a plane ticket for Tehran and flew later that day at around 6 p.m. He went on to Pakistan. His old friends at Cheetham Hill had arranged everything, and even paid for his airfare. This is the house where a lot of the Al-Qaeda supporters were based. I mean, people who've actually gone to prison for terrorism offences. How does it make you feel to realise that your brother was associating with these people?
It's devastating. It's annoying because the first time we heard of or this house was mentioned was at the court case of Abdul Rahman. We were totally unaware that my brother had even visited this property. We went to the police for help. We told them this individual who instigated the whole process, the whole change, the introduction of my brother to these people, the manipulation of his mind, whatever he's done to my brother, we went to the police and told him, and they still failed to help us in any way, shape or form.
When you're in trouble, who do you go to? You go to the police. You don't go anywhere else. You go to the law. I use the law. And they've let me down badly. They stabbed me at the back. And I've no way to go. Only thing I can say is appeal to the British government, that they can put a pressure on the Pakistani government so they can see where my son is. Maybe he's in prison in there, so they can get him out. And then I can see my son.
The last chance to stop Umar from leaving the country came on the morning of the 5th of January, when the family reported him missing to the police, 8 hours before he flew out of the UK. The failure to stop him flying has left the family bitter.
How could he still be allowed to leave the country? I do not know how. It's beyond gross negligence. We're in regular contact with the police as to the whereabouts of my brother, how he's keeping, and after the control order, you still let this happen? This is unbelievable.
So why did it take almost 3 months for the police to get a control order on Umar Arshad? Why did they give him 24 hours to hand in his passport? And why, when he disappeared on the 5th of January 2007 and the family contacted the police, did they not put him on a no-fly list? We wanted to ask the police all these questions, but they said they couldn't comment on this case for legal reasons, leaving the family without the answers they so desperately need.
You would have thought on the day we had outlined a phase of something going on, our brother's possibly going to leave the country. Now you think it takes one phone call to alert the airports, right, this person cannot leave the country. I'm sure it's as simple as that.
It'll come as a shock for many to learn that it is not. 5 years after the 7/7 terrorist attack here, we still don't have any systematic exit controls at British ports. The police can't quickly stop someone from leaving the country. Simple as that. No wonder so many of those on control orders have fled. Control order legislation was introduced in March 2005. By last December, 45 orders have been served. There have been legal challenges, though, and just 9 were enforced at the end of last year. Some 7 people, including Umar Arshad, have absconded while on orders, raising serious questions about the ability to enforce them. The family has instructed a solicitor to press the Home Office to help trace Umar Arshad. He argues that if the control order system is not properly enforced, then parents need alternatives.
They are genuine victims of circumstances and people who are lured into radicalisation. I think there should be something for help for the parents, for those own victims, so that they can be de-radicalised. But there is nothing, no organisation for these radicalised victims.
So could earlier intervention have prevented Umar Arshad from travelling down this path? That would have meant giving sensitive intelligence about his contacts with the Manchester terror cell to the family. This was never likely, so they had to rely on the control order, which patently failed them in this case.